Hey guys, in this video we are going to be solving quadratics using the quadratic formula, specifically quadratics that have context. So let's take a look. Alright, a bottlenose dolphin jumps out of the water. The height of the dolphin, in feet, x seconds after leaving the surface of the water can be modeled by the function right here. How long does the dolphin's jump take? Alright, so first thing we're going to do, as always, is set the function equal to 0. So now I have negative 16x squared plus 16x equals 0. Okay, now we could do this by factoring, but I want you to understand what happens when you're missing one of the terms. In this case, we're missing a c value, the constant. So a is negative 16, b is positive 16, and c, which is not there, is just 0. So anytime you're missing a, b, well, not a, you'll only be missing b or c. It'll just be 0. You will not have a problem like this where a is 0, because then it won't be a quadratic. All right, let's put everything into the quadratic formula. So the opposite of b is negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 16 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 0 all over 2 times negative 16. All right, let's save ourselves some work and just use the calculator. So 16 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 0 is going to be 256. So negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 256 all over negative 32, because 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. All right, so let's take the square root of 256. It is a perfect square. We get 16. So now I have negative 16 plus or minus 16 over negative 32. And I'm going to split this into two problems to get my two solutions, and then we will decide from there whether to keep them both or if one of them makes more sense than the other. So over here I'm going to have negative 16 plus 16 over negative 32. And over here I'm going to have negative 16 minus 16 over negative 32. All right, so this first one, negative 16 plus 16 is 0. So 0 divided by negative 32 is 0. And then over here, negative 16 minus 16 is negative 32 divided by negative 32 is 1. All right, so remember, x is time in seconds. So this is 0 seconds and 1 second. And the question says, how long does the dolphin's jump take? All right, so essentially what this is telling us is that the dolphin's jump starts at the surface of the water at time 0 and ends after 1 second. So the answer that we're looking for is going to be 1 second, because we want to know how long the whole jump is, not where it starts. So 1 second is the time that we want. All right, let's try another. You are outside shooting hoops. The height of the basketball in feet, which is f of x seconds after you shoot it, can be modeled by the function you see. How long will it take for the basketball to go through the hoop, assuming you make it, and touch the ground? All right, so once again, we're going to set it equal to 0. So negative 16x squared plus 15x plus 6 equals 0. Our a value is negative 16, b is 15, and c is 6. All right, so let's take a look at how this works out. The opposite of b is negative 15 plus or minus the square root of 15 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 6 all over 2 times negative 16. All right, here we go. We have 15 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 6, which is 609. So I have negative 15 plus or minus the square root of 609 over 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. Now, we are dealing with a real-world problem here, so I am not looking for you to simplify the radicals. So from here, we can go straight into splitting the problem so we get our two solutions, and then we can decide which one to keep or whether both of them make sense. So some kids like to actually write it out and split it up so that they know what they're doing, but you don't have to here. It's completely up to you. So we have negative 15 plus the square root of 609 over negative 32. And we have negative 15 minus the square root of 609 over negative 32. All right, I'm going to use the fraction function on this calculator. So it's negative 15 plus the square root of 609. On the bottom is negative 32. Now, I want to make sure that I get a decimal and not just a simplified radical, so I'm going to arrow out of the fraction, and then the button right above the enter key gives you this double arrow looking thing in the calculator. That's what tells the calculator to give you a decimal. So I'm going to hit enter, and I get negative 0.30 seconds. So this one gives me negative 0.30 seconds. All right, then it makes it real easy. I just go back up and highlight what I did, copy paste, and then change the plus in front of the radical to a minus, and I get 1.24 seconds. So now let's talk about what's going on here. Time, obviously x is time. It's the amount of time it takes for the ball to go through the hoop if you make it and touch the ground again. So we can't have negative time, therefore this answer is irrelevant, and the answer is 1.24 seconds. All right, let's try another. Rory jumped off a diving board into a pool. Rory's height in feet, which is f of x seconds after she jumped, can be modeled by the function you see there. How long does it take Rory to reach the surface of the water? All right, so once again, set the function equal to 0. So negative 16x squared plus 3x plus 15 equals 0. A is going to be negative 16, B is 3, and C is 15. Okay, so let's plug everything in. We've got the opposite of B is negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 15 all over 2 times negative 16. Okay, here we go. So we've got 3 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 15 is 969. So now we have the negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 969 all over 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. So again, we'll split this into 2. So we have negative 3 plus the square root of 969 over negative 32, and negative 3 minus the square root of 969 over negative 32. And then we're going to use the calculator and see what we get. All right, negative 3 plus the square root of 969 over negative 32, changed to a decimal, is negative 0.88 seconds. And then I'm going to copy paste, change to a subtraction, and I get 1.07 seconds. Once again, we're talking about time here, so the negative 1 doesn't make sense. And there's our answer. Let's try one more. All right, a lacrosse player makes a pass downfield to his teammate. The height of the ball in feet, which is f of x seconds after it is passed, can be modeled by the function you see. His teammate misses the pass and the ball falls to the ground. How long was the ball airborne? Okay, so for starters, we're going to set it equal to 0. So negative 16x squared plus 90x plus 7 equals 0, meaning that A is negative 16, B is 90, and C is 7. So here we go. Opposite of B is negative 90 plus or minus square root 90 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 7 all over 2 times negative 16. All right, here we go. 90 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 7 is 8,548. So we have negative 90 plus or minus the square root of 8,548 all over negative 32 once again. So we're splitting it into 2. So in this one, we'll have negative 90 plus the square root of 8,548 over negative 32. And this one, we will have negative 90 minus the square root of 8,548 over negative 32. All right, use our calculator. Negative 90 plus the square root of 8548 over negative 32, and change it to a decimal, is negative 0.08 seconds. Copy, paste, and then change to subtraction to get 5.70 seconds. Once again, can't have negative time, so we keep this one. And that's it. That's how you use the quadratic formula to solve quadratics that are in context.